The truth, a jagged shard hidden beneath the surface of our marriage, finally pierced through. My gut feeling, that persistent whisper, had morphed into a glaring reality. A storm of emotions brewed within me. Though our bond had fractured, love's embers still flickered. Confusion gnawed at my insides, a sickening cocktail of betrayal and lingering affection. Flight, pure and immediate, beckoned like a siren song. Yet, a decision perhaps formed subconsciously simmered beneath the turmoil. This wasn't a burden I could share, not entirely. Resolution lay within myself. With a steely resolve, I pushed past the paralyzing doubt and set out on a journey oblivious to the life-altering choice that awaited me at its end. Jane Stewart, 29. Housewife. Dishes, laundry, grocery lists. The symphony of domestic life played on repeat. 3 years ago, this routine was a distant dream. Back then, I was still Jane the office worker, where I met Trevor. Same age, quick connection, and within a year and a half, we were saying, I do. Marriage meant a shift. Trevor, ever supportive, suggested I stay home. My corporate climb wasn't exactly scaling Everest, so I agreed. Our love nests. A charming house built by my father, a gift I never anticipated needing. The first 6 months were bliss, a spotless haven for my beloved husband. But then, a niggling unease settled in. Trevor, the reliable 9-to-5 guy, started waltzing in past 9 p.m., no explanation. Overtimes were always prefaced by a text, a courtesy that vanished. This particular day, silence. My texts, calls, all met with a maddening void. By 11, worry gnawed at me. When he finally appeared, I practically launched myself at him. Jane, you're still up. No reply to my messages. I was worried sick. His feigned concern sent a jolt through me. Worried sick? Where were you? What even was that supposed to mean? Overtime, my foot. You didn't call. Oh, just a particularly demanding day. Expect more of those, love. He brushed past me, a flippant, tired, bath time, his only farewell. His nonchalance stung. Foolish for worrying. The audacity. Didn't this man understand the worry I'd endured? A simple apology wouldn't have killed him. This wasn't the life I signed up for. I swallowed my anger and retreated to the bedroom, burrowing under the covers to force sleep. That night marked a turning point. Overtime became Trevor's new normal, leading into his weekends. When I questioned the sudden workload, he'd parrot the same tired excuse. Then a detail snagged my attention, the scent of fresh showers clinging to his suit, a stark contrast to the expected office grime. This wasn't overtime, it was something else entirely. One particularly late night, Trevor stumbled in past midnight. Trevor, where have you been? This is getting ridiculous. What's ridiculous is your constant accusations. I told you, overtime. Overtime, that's become a 7-day-a-week affair. You practically lived at the office before we married. What's changed? I pressed, my voice laced with suspicion. And why does your suit smell? Like cologne, like a shower. His facade crumbled for a fleeting moment. His eyes darted away before he sputtered out a weak defense. Imagination, company scent, you see. Overtime with female colleagues. Bound to pick up some smells, right? The explanation was laughable. Transferred scent. Unless they're clinging to you, that's not a thing, Trevor. And enough with the nagging nonsense. This isn't nagging, it's called concern. Who do you think supports your comfortable life, huh? His deflection tactic, turning the tables and accusing you of nagging, is a classic attempt to avoid accountability. Disappointment gnawed at me. Open communication used to be our bedrock, but now his anger screamed of a desperate cover-up. Proof, I needed proof to shatter his web of lies. A few days later, fate, or perhaps my heightened awareness, presented an opportunity. Trevor's phone lay abandoned on the coffee table. My fingers hovered over it, a cocktail of apprehension and resolve swirling within me. Just then, a notification blazed across the screen, a message from a Rachel. The words that followed were a gut punch. A love-soaked message, an anniversary trip, a half-year affair. My world tilted. Less than a year of marriage, and Trevor had been living a double life, late nights transformed into stolen moments with another woman. The nausea that had been simmering within me intensified. My body, it seemed, knew the truth long before my mind could grasp it. Trevor emerged from the bathroom, oblivious to the storm brewing within me. Trevor, I forced the name out. Who is Rachel? His facade shattered. A flicker of recognition in his eyes as he saw the phone in my hand confirmed my suspicions. He lunged, snatching the phone back with a snarl. Privacy. What happened to it? He bellowed, indignation colouring his voice. Don't you dare talk about privacy after betraying our trust. Affair? No proof, you say. The proof is right there, on that very screen. I kept the emotional core intact. Jane discovers a text message revealing her husband's infidelity. However, I used. Triumphant, Trevor swiped away the notification, a smug grin plastered on his face. Proof? Where's your precious proof? He taunted. Frustration clawed at me. The incriminating message gone in a flash. I bit my lip, helpless. He twisted the knife. If you suspect me, darling, evidence is key, wouldn't you agree? What kind of twisted game are you playing? My voice trembled with anger. You're the one accusing me of infidelity. The audacity. This house, more like a battleground of baseless accusations. Another word of this nonsense, and it's divorce. But worry not, sweetheart, since you're the innocent one, alimony won't be on the table. His mocking grin ignited a fire within me. The years of suppressed resentment boiled over. Just because I'm a housewife doesn't mean I'm powerless. I roared. Get ready, Trevor, because I'm coming for you. Fueled by anger and a newfound resolve, I embarked on a clandestine mission. Over the weekend, I researched detective agencies, careful not to leave a trace. With a churning stomach, I walked into their office, ready to expose the truth. The detective listened intently, then a shadow crossed his face. We can investigate, Mrs. Stewart, but there's a hurdle. A hurdle? You're a housewife, correct? While many in your situation seek our services, finances can be a barrier. His words struck a chord. I understand, I said, my voice firm. Even with a divorce, financial independence might be challenging. Are you prepared? Absolutely. He won't control me anymore. The detective's firm nod solidified my resolve. With a mission in mind, I left the agency and headed straight for the hospital. A battery of tests later, the stark reality of my health hit me, a bleeding stomach ulcer. Why did you let it get this bad, Mrs. Stewart? The doctor asked, concern lacing his voice. Bleeding. The news was a punch to the gut. Stress, most likely, he explained. You've been holding a lot in. A 2-week hospital stay, the doctor's orders. The news brought mixed emotions. While Trevor's late nights meant less time together, a complete 2-week separation felt oddly liberating. During a lunch break, I tried calling him, but my calls went unanswered, voicemail after voicemail. Frustration gnawed at me. Finally, I left a message and returned to my hospital room. Days bled into each other, punctuated by unanswered calls and the quiet hum of the hospital. The lack of a change of clothes necessitated a trip to the hospital store, another reminder of my isolation. The doctor, concerned about my lack of contact with family, offered to explain my condition. But with a silent phone, my efforts were futile. Then, 10 long days later, a message from Trevor. On my way to the hospital. Cynicism clawed at me. Discharge was imminent, and I'd already replaced essential items. What was the point? A glimmer of hope pierced the gloom during this call hiatus. The detective agency called, confirmation of my suspicions. Trevor was having an affair, and they had photographic evidence to strengthen my divorce case. I filled them in on my hospitalization and promised to see them once I was discharged. A few hours later, my husband swaggered into the room, a self-assured smirk plastered on his face. Long time no see, he greeted, his voice dripping with false cheer. "Got some news for you. Even after you get sprung from here, you won't have a home to come back to." "What? Explain yourself," I demanded, a cold fury replacing the hollowness I'd been feeling. "Filing for divorce, sweetheart. Changing the locks while you're stuck here playing patient. See ya later." His smirk widened into a cruel grin. The words that would have shattered me weeks ago now felt like a pathetic attempt at power. A genuine smile, devoid of warmth, played on my lips. "Divorce? Thank you. Saved me the trouble." Confusion flickered across his face. "Thank you. What are you?" Exactly what I said. I cut him off, my voice laced with steel. "I suspected your infidelity for a while now. Living with that suspicion is torture. Consider this a blessing in disguise. So it's a done deal then? Consensual divorce?" "Absolutely." He puffed out his chest, a hint of unease flickering in his eyes. "Good. Stay with your folks when you get out." He hummed a tuneless melody as he retreated, oblivious to the storm brewing within me. The sight of him, clueless and self-important, triggered a surge of laughter, laced with a touch of madness. He underestimated me. Revenge. Oh, he had no idea what was coming. Armed with the detective agency's evidence, I marched straight to the courthouse. The divorce proceedings were swift, the incriminating photos leaving no room for argument. My parents, upon hearing the news, were livid. My father, particularly, bristled with indignation. "That house, built for you, Jane. How dare he try to steal it?" He stormed off, vowing legal action. True to his word, Dad enlisted a lawyer and unearthed Trevor's forgery, an unauthorized power of attorney used to transfer ownership of the house. A lawsuit was promptly filed. Next, I gathered our parents and descended upon the house, once a symbol of our married life, now a scene of betrayal. Trevor and his mistress sat on the couch, oblivious to the approaching storm. "Trevor," I announced, my voice laced with steel, "we have something to discuss." "What is it? And why are our parents here?" Confusion marred his features. "This house," I continued, a steely glint in my eyes, "was built by my father. You have no right to it." A frantic edge crept into his voice. "Get out. This is my property now." "Not anymore," I countered, a photo from the detective agency clutched in my hand. The image, a clear snapshot of Trevor and his paramour, drained the color from his face. "How did you?" he stammered, his bravado crumbling. "Wait, the divorce? Alimony? You're not serious." "Serious as a heart attack, Trevor. Not only did you cheat, but you forged legal documents. Forgery, that's a crime, wouldn't you say?" The color drained from both Trevor and his mistress' faces as the truth unfolded. A pathetic plea for forgiveness tumbled from his lips. "Jane, please, just forget it ever happened." The anger that had simmered for weeks boiled over. "Forget it? You cheated, committed forgery, and think a simple apology wipes the slate clean. How can I forgive a scoundrel like you?" "Shut up, Jane," he roared, desperation lacing his voice. "You're the one who ruined everything. You betrayed me, our parents." His accusations hung hollow in the air. My parents and in-laws ushered him outside, his shouts echoing through the house. His mistress, collateral damage in his web of lies, was shown the door as well. With the help of my lawyer, I secured a significant lump sum alimony settlement. The company, upon learning of the affair, promptly fired her, leaving her saddled with a debt she couldn't afford. Justice, though imperfect, prevailed. Trevor faced criminal charges for forgery and received a 6-month prison sentence. His comfortable life was over. He'd be released with a criminal record, alimony payments looming, and the need to rebuild his life from scratch. A fitting consequence for his betrayal, I returned to my parents' home, the house that had always been a safe haven. While it felt vast for a single person, a strange sense of peace settled over me. The marriage may have failed, but life stretched before me, brimming with possibilities. I vowed to make choices that prioritized my own happiness, the future unwritten but full of hope. Thanks for watching and being part of this storytelling adventure. Click the subscribe button to support our storytelling channel